Hey there, second grade. This is Mr. Campbell. I teach second grade over at Brooks Elementary School. And today I'm going to go ahead and get us started this year with our first math lesson. So if you'd go ahead and grab Math Volume 1 and open up to page 11. This is going to be Chapter 1, Lesson 1. It'll look kind of like what I've got up here on the screen for you right now. As you go ahead and grab that, I'm just going to give you a couple other directions. Please make sure you have a pencil with you. And as I'm writing today, anytime that I'm writing on my screen, I want you to go ahead and use your pencil to write in your book as well. All right. As we go through the day today, we're also going to be stopping at different points, and I'm going to ask you to complete some things on your own, and then we'll come back together and work together as well. So hopefully you've been able to go ahead and find your math journal, open up to page 11, and we are going to get started today talking about addition properties. Now, addition properties, all that is asking is what are some rules or things that we know about addition that actually helps us to do addition faster? All right, so as we jump in today, we're going to be talking about two of them that we've got. So let's go ahead, turn the page to page number 12, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in real quick. All right, and as I zoom in, this first part is called the guided practice. All right, guided practice. Now, in the guided practice, we're going to be doing some problems together. I'm going to be using different colors just to help us out to see what I'm talking about. So again, whenever I'm writing on my page, I want you to be using your pencil on yours. You don't have to have different colors. It's just to help me as I'm doing it on here. So read with me. It says, you add to find a sum. Each number you add is called an addend. And the answer is called the sum. And we're going to be using those words today as we are going through these problems, all right? So when you take a look at our first problem down here, all right, I've got my addends. So my addends are the two things that I'm going to add together to find my answer. So here I've got 3. So that's coming from this domino. 1, 2, and 3. Ooh, missed that a little bit. All right, there we go, 3. All right, then the next number is going to be 5, and that's the second part of my domino. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, if I want to total them up to find the sum, which sum just means the answer of an addition problem, I'm going to count how many dots there were altogether. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so I had 8 was the sum or the answer of my two addends. Now, the next part is they're using actually the same numbers. They just flipped them around. Instead of 3 plus 5, we now have 5 plus 3. I wonder if that's going to change the answer at all. So let's go ahead and check it out. Up here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. Then my next addend is 1, 2, 3. Let's see if when we add all of those dots together, if that changes what our answer is. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, it stayed the same. My sum was still 8. The reason that it stayed the same is actually this property right over here. All right, take a look at this. It says you can add numbers in any order, and the sum is the same. This is the commutative property, and I'm going to keep using those words. The commutative property tells us that any order that we add our addends will have the same sum. And that can be a shortcut. So if we know that 3 plus 5 equals 8, I don't always have to recount to know that it's still going to equal 8. Because no matter what order we put them in, we're going to get the same sum. Well, let's take a look at our next part. All right, the next part, and I'm going to read right over here on the left. So please follow along with me. Right here in this bubble, it says any number plus 0 equals that number. This is the identity property. So when we take a look at my addends here, I've got 5 plus 0. All right, 5 plus 0. One way to think about that is I have 5 dots and I don't put anything else with it. Is it going to change? No, of course it's not going to change. It's going to stay the same. And the reason that it's going to stay the same is because we're not adding anything to it. Our addend is that 0. So 5 plus 0, the sum will be 5 because I didn't change it. Now let's take a look at the next one. I'm starting with 0 and I'm adding 5 to it. this is still the identity property because I'm starting with 0 and adding 5. The commutative property tells me it's going to be the same answer, but my identity property tells me I'm adding a 0. So my answer will always be the other number. In this case, it was the second number, but the answer is still going to be 5. All right. Now let's come down here to the bottom. Now we've got these different problems down here. We're going to do a couple of them together, and then I'm going to ask you to pause in just a minute. So let's take a look at our first one here. I've got 4 plus 3. So 4 plus 3, well, that's coming from 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 1, 2, 3. So just like we did before, let's go ahead and count them all up. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. And then if I wanted to, I could recount them again, but our commutative property tells me that if I'm using the same addends, 4 and 3, they're same right down here, it's going to give me the same sum of 7. All right. Let's take a look at number 2. Number 2, ooh, do you see that 0 there? That tells us we're going to have the identity property. The identity property says my answer will be the other number. So 6 plus 0 is going to be 6. And when I do that turnaround fact is what I like to call that when they're the same addends but just doing it the other way. My turnaround fact is going to give me the same sum because I have nothing. I put 6 in there, and that means there are 6 in there. All right, so my answer will be 6. For number 3, I want you to go ahead and try out number 3 on your own. All right, I want you to do this one on your own. So you're actually going to pause the video right now, do this problem, and then press play, and I'll go over it. So pause now. I hope that you paused your video so that way you could try this problem out on your own. But now I'm going to go over it. So I've got 2 plus 4. So I have 1, 2, and I'm going to add 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Well, for this one, I know that I've got 2, right? I don't even need to count those because it's telling me to start with 2. When I start with 2, I can just count up from there. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 is my answer. Now, do I need to figure out what 4 plus 2 is? No, I don't, because I know that the commutative property tells me I'm using the same addends, which means I can have the same sum of 6. All right. Let's take a look at number 4. Now, for number 4, I want you to try this one out on your own. So again, you're going to pause, and when you're done pausing, I'll go over it. So pause your video right now, do number 4, and then we'll go over it together. Once again, I hope that you paused your video so that you had a chance to go over this problem. I'm going to go over it right now. So for number 4, I'm going to just go ahead and just for a minute, I'm going to pretend like I don't see this domino. Okay. Now, if I didn't have this domino here, one of the things that I could do is I could just draw my own dots. So for number 4, I'm going to do 1, 2, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I drew them just like the dominoes, but it helps me out. When I do that, now I can just count how many dominoes there were all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my answer here will be 7. My commutative property tells me that when I flip that around, it didn't change the addends. So my answer will once again be 7. All right. Let's go ahead and turn to the next page. So page 13. And at the top of page 13, it says independent practice. Now for independent practice, I'm going to actually have you practice these problems on your own. You're going to do all of them, and then I'll go over them. So what I want you to do is numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So this whole page, all right? I'll write it up here at the top as well, just in case you forget. But you're going to do, oops, I got to put on my pen. All right? You are going to do problems 5 through 14. This is all of this page. Do that on your own. And then once you're done, then I'm going to go ahead and go over it with you. So right now, I want you to pause your video, do those problems. You might hear my water bottle right now. I'm going to take a quick drink, do those problems, and then we'll go over it together. So pause your video and do 5 through 14 now. All right, I hope that you were able to do problems 5 through 14 on your own. If you haven't, stop right now and do that. The first thing I want you to know is that as teachers, we are okay if you get problems wrong as long as you learn from them. So we're not upset if you write the wrong answer. That's okay. But I want you to stop and think, hey, how did I get that answer? What did I miss as we go through these problems? So that way, the next time you have that problem, you'll be able to fix it and it won't be a problem. Now, if we get through this and you're just like, I'm still really having a hard time, make sure you reach out to your teacher. I love when my students ask me questions and say, hey, Mr. Campbell, I got number 6 wrong. I don't really understand what I did wrong. I love that. I can help out with that. Please, please, please do not just fill in answers. That doesn't help you learn and grow, and that's the main point of all of this. So let's go ahead and dive in. So we're going to start here with number 5, all right? Number 5 tells me I've got 5 plus 1. Well, just like on the other page, I'm just going to go ahead and count them. So I already know that when I do that, I've got 5 here. My first number is 5. So 5 plus 1 more is going to be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The commutative property here tells me that I'm using the same addends, which means that my sum will be the same, still a 6. All right. For number 6, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to keep counting. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, I've got 9 there. And then once again, my commutative property tells me I'm using the same addends, so I still have 9. Let's take a look at number 7. Number 7 is 0 plus 3. Ooh, I see that 0. And if you remember, our identity property tells us that when we have a 0 as one of our addends, the answer will be the other number. So if I have 0 plus 3, my other number here is 3. So the sum will be 3. I've got the commutative property. They use the same addends of 0 and 3. So 3 plus 0 will be 3. All right, hope you're starting to get this. Hopefully it's starting to click a little bit. For number 8, man, these are a little bit tougher problems. I'm going to go ahead and draw my dots for this one. I'm just trying to give you different strategies. You can find which one you like to solve these problems. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, I've got my 6 and then 3. And when I did that, I counted my 6, and then I just kept counting because I knew I needed 3 more. So my answer was 9. For number 8, the commutative property can be used again. I still am using a 6. I'm still using a 3. They just flipped them around, which means my sum will once again be 9. For number 9, I've got 7 plus 1. I love plus 1s. And the reason I love plus 1s is I always like to start with the bigger number and then just count 1 more. So 7 plus 1 more, if I'm counting, 7, 8. 8's going to be the sum of that problem because I just needed 1 more. And then my commutative property here will tell me that I'm using the same numbers. I can flip them around and get the same answer. Now, I hope that number 10 didn't throw you off too much, all right? Because the second part of number 10, they flipped it around. They tried to trick you, but I hope you were smarter than they were. For this one, I can see I've got 6 plus 2. So I'm going to start at 6 and count 2 more. 6, 7, 8. So my answer is 8. Now look at this. What? They moved the equal sign to the other side of the problem. Does that change it? No, it does not. It is still the same. When I take a look at my addends, I'm still using the number 2. I'm still using the number 6, which means that I'm using the same addends, which means my sum will still be 8. Number 11, I hope you identified it, the identity property, because I've got a 0. 8 plus 0, 8 plus nothing is still going to be 8. 0 plus 8 is still going to be 8. We're picking up a little bit of pace here as we get to our last 3 problems. For number 12, oh, they did that again. They switched that equal sign around. I can still solve it the same way. I'm going to say 4 plus 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is my answer there. The commutative property tells me I'm using the same numbers. 2 plus 4 is 6. For number 13, I've got 3 plus 4. So I've got 1, 2, 3 plus 4. Well, let's count them up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And the commutative property here tells me my sum will again be 7. Number 14, the last one on this page, I see I've got a 0 here, which tells me it's going to be the, I hope you said identity property, because that's exactly what it is. The identity property, which tells me it's going to be the other number that's not 0. So my sum is 9. I've got 9 plus 0 is going to be 9 again. All right, second grade. I hope that you were able to follow along with me. Again, if you didn't get them all right, that's okay. That's part of learning, is growing. We're going to review these. We're going to keep going through them. The important thing is that you're always continuing to try. You're always paying attention, and you're always correcting your mistakes. That's what we care most about. Thank you so much for working so hard with me today. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time.